Hey kids, welcome to Rob's Red Hotspot and yet another new Let's Play. This time we're going to be playing one of my favorite strategy games, Hearts of Iron 3, Their Finest Hour, which was the final patch or DLC that they released for this game. You're going to see a lot of Let's Plays of Hearts of Iron 4 these days. For a number of reasons, it's not really my favorite game. I never really caught on to that. Maybe at some point I'll get it on a Steam sale and kind of play around in it, but I love this game. I've played for hundreds of hours. I've played all the major countries, and I think it's one of the most in-depth grand strategy World War II games out there. I love the detail. I love the micromanagement, which some people don't, but we'll have lots of opportunity to talk about that as we play this game. I am going to play a major country. I want to show you guys as many aspects of the game as possible in this Let's Play. This is not going to be a tutorial because there's just way too much material to cover, but I am thinking about doing some tutorial videos for Hearts of Iron 3. There's been some tutorials online, but there haven't been a lot of ones recently, and I want to maybe find some aspects that haven't been covered, or just sort of give some good basic tips for people who might want to play this game. You can get it for like $10, and there's some great mods out there like Black Ice and other things. But I'm going to do a vanilla Let's Play of the UK. I'm going to keep the difficulty setting on normal so that you can get a sense of how the game plays when you're kind of more or less evenly matched against the AI. And yeah, so let's get rolling. We're gonna pick the Road to War scenario. You can do a custom game. I don't really think it's very balanced. You can also start later, but these were kind of, I think these were put in place for an earlier DLC, and there's a lot of weird glitches and bugs, and I just don't like them. So I'm gonna go with the 1936 start, which means we're going to have a few years of kind of setup and gearing up for war. But that's kind of fun too, because you get to see kind of how you can build up an allied power for the war. Another thing is that Germany is probably the most popular country to play in Hearts of Iron. They're kind of the aggressor in the war, and you're in the driver's seat. But I love playing as the UK because you have this really cool mix of sort of very specialized mobile amphibious land forces with navy and air, so it kind of features every aspect of the game really well. And yeah, so let's get rolling. In this episode, I'm just going to set us up. We're not going to be rolling through a lot of time in this game, mostly just setting up the doing some initial first steps, and I'll try and keep this video reasonably brief. I won't be doing all of my army organization on screen, but I'm going to do a kind of first round of it to kind of show you guys how I do it. And later on, if I need to do some major reorganization, I'll do it off screen, because I know it's not always the most fun thing to watch. So first off is the UK. We have this gigantic empire. The British Empire is still almost sort of maybe a bit the dominant power in the planet, certainly commercially. We've got Newfoundland, we've got all these Caribbean colonies, Guyana, that's what is that? Belize, Jamaica, Bermuda. We've got islands, sort of island naval bases like St. Helena, Ascension, the Falklands, the infamous Falklands, West Africa, East Africa. That's Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, so it wasn't strictly governed by the British, but it was sort of a puppet almost. It sort of would almost be better if it was modeled as a puppet in this. We've got the Palestine mandates, vestige of World War One. We've got Kuwait, Dubai. We've got India, what would become the sort of greater India with Pakistan, and we got Burma, Malaysia, Hong Kong, some Pacific islands. So our biggest challenge as the UK is going to be kind of trying to defend all this, because spoilers, we are going to be at war with Nazi Germany. We're going to be at war with Mussolini's Italy, and Japan. So yeah, we gotta kind of pick our battles, and we can't fight this war on every front, but I think we can defend the empire. And my goal here is to be a wholehearted British imperialist, and I want the empire to come out stronger than ever at the end of this war. So first off, though, we have too many theaters. We have 7 different theaters here. So I'm going to delete the ones where we're unlikely to see much combat. I don't think we need a theater in the Americas because there might be a little bit of naval stuff going on here, but it doesn't need its own theater. So I'm going to delete that. I'm also going to delete West Africa. And, you know, maybe just to kind of add some flavor, why don't we rename the Home Command Theater the Atlantic Theater? And that's going to encompass kind of all of this, and it'll be kind of our main naval theater. Middle East Command is fine as it is. I'm going to rename it Mediterranean Theater. I think I got the right number of consonants in Mediterranean. All right. We have Army of India and the Far East Command. I don't think we need two theaters here. I am going to unify this under one Far East Command. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. I think we're good. So this is all going to be Far East Theater. And we're going to delete the Army of India. I know it sounds like heresy, but we'll make an Army of India later, but it's not getting its own theater. East Africa Command Theater we're going to keep for now. And these two are going to go. So this is also saving us resources. The headquarter units in the game actually consume supplies and officers and various resources. So they're not only an organizational thing, but they're also an active unit in the game. And so you kind of want to pare down your order of battle. This is called the order of battle. You can see it visualized a little bit clearer here. So you can see all this hierarchy here. You want to do a combination of kind of paring this down to save resources, but also making it organized in such a way that you can actually kind of remember where everything is and sort of have a coherent way of organizing it. The next thing in our Home Command Theater, which is now our Atlantic Theater, we can see that the British Army is organized, and this is one of the things I love the most about this game is just these little historical flavor details. So like, I was looking up Aldershot Command on Wikipedia the other day, and Aldershot, I guess, was the kind of army headquarters, I think, for overseas deployment in various branches of the British Army, the Royal Army. And then we've got these regional commands: Eastern Command, Northern Command, Scottish Command, Southern Command, Western Command for every region of the British Isles. And then we've got these kind of sub-commands. So we can see here, like, Eastern Command is East Anglia area, Home Counties area. Anyway, suffice to say that we just don't need all that. That is a peacetime army organization. It's very inefficient. We are, hopefully, unless we really fuck the dog, hopefully we will not be having to defend the British Isles from invasion. I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent that. So I'm just going to delete all these. And I will make a new hierarchy that makes more sense for an army that's going to be predominantly fighting overseas. Alright, we have one more HQ in here. This is a core HQ in the Middle East that we don't need. And now I'm just going to... Next step is the Navy. So I am going to bring all of the Navy back to the British Isles so that we can reorganize it. Again, we have this kind of historical flavor, like the America and West Indies fleets. This is Africa Station. This is kind of a cool, old school, excuse me, old school British term for kind of a naval posting abroad. The Mediterranean fleet, some sub squads and destroyer squadrons, transport squadrons. China Station. Where's India Station? East Indies Station, it's called. Yeah. So this is not a very efficient way of organizing our Navy. We need to kind of concentrate it a bit more. I'm going to send it all to Dover. And I'm actually going to just grab the transport squadrons. They're the only ones that I don't want in Dover. And I'm going to send those overseas. We're going to go and bring the army home and reorganize that as well. Okay, so they're going to go to Hong Kong. I'm going to do the same thing with the Air Force. Send it all to Dover. So we have a few fighter wings, a couple tactical wings. This is the kind of main RAF, home RAF, I guess. We have Middle East Air Command. There's India Air Command, which is here. And Far East Air Command, which is here. Just make sure I don't have any carrier air groups in there. Alright. Send those to Dover as well. Just sending everything home, honestly, just makes it easier to organize. What else? We also need to. Well, let's not focus on moving land units yet. All right, let's start setting up some trades. It's a good thing before you unpause the game. It's always good to do some trades, because as soon as the clock starts rolling, all these countries start trading with one another, so you can miss out on some lucrative trades. I'm gonna sell rares to Germany because I just want to milk them for money, basically. I know I'm giving rare materials to the enemy, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I want the money so I can stockpile other resources. They might not even accept that trade anyway. Japan, I'm definitely going to sell rares to. And I'm going to kind of go through. You know what? We'll wait for the rest of that. Let's start buying some stuff from the U.S. So our most urgent need is going to be metal. So I'll focus on. You know what? Let's buy energy first. Energy's cheaper. Let's buy energy, and that's good for trades. I'm not going to do any kind of influencing nations or other diplomatic things for the time being. We'll maybe get to that later. Production. I am going to. I want an airbase in Gibraltar. The reason I like at least a level 1 airbase in Gibraltar, I'm not going to be operating out of Gibraltar very much, but I can use it to ferry, because there's no airbase there at all. So I can actually use that if France, which most likely France gets conquered by Germany, I can send my air units to Gibraltar and then send them over to elsewhere in the empire. And that will avoid them like freshly built aircraft flying over Nazi occupied areas and getting, attacked on the way. So that's useful. I think I want to max out Malta's airbase. I want to build radar. I want to build, the UK is the only country that starts with radar, and I'm going to take full advantage of that. So we're going to max out radar in Dover, and we're going to max out radar in Malta. Radar stations in this game have kind of a dual purpose. They provide an air combat bonus in adjacent provinces. So in Malta, it will be this western central Mediterranean Sea. In Dover, it'll be these provinces and the surrounding land provinces. But they also provide visibility. They act as listening stations. So they're going to give us information on where enemy fleets are. Here, they're going to give us information on Italian troop movements and stuff like that, especially if we build up an espionage network. They're going to provide us with lots of valuable information so that we can potentially plan amphibious landings, or just know the location of valuable enemy naval assets. So those are going to be really invaluable. And they're also going to build up our electronic engineering practical, which is going to help us research some key techs. So that's a principle in this game. You build stuff. The better you get at building stuff, the better you get at researching it, and vice versa. So yeah, very important. What else? Our other production is going to kind of depend on what technology we're strong in. So we don't have totally up-to-date fighters. We do, however, have totally up-to-date bombers. And I'm going to try and build as broadly as possible, kind of every different type of unit, mostly to show them off. So I'm going to put a naval bomber in the queue. You know what? I'm going to queue up 3 of those so that I don't forget to put more after. So let's do a serial build. And I'm going to put a stack of transport planes in the queue. They'll be useful in various ways throughout the game. So that's good. What else? We also start with landing craft, which is very useful. So I'm going to put them kind of at the bottom of the queue. We won't necessarily be building them right away, but I'm going to at least build maybe 5 of those for our amphibious landings. I think that's good for production. I'm going to add some other things to the queue afterwards, but I've kind of got probably more production than I can even handle right now. I'm not going to build... You know what? I'm going to throw a couple of IC just to get our construction practical up. So maybe let's do that. We don't want to be building too much IC or industrial capacity as the Brits, because we will kind of outpace our ability to accumulate resources at a certain point if we build too much IC. But I'm going to build a couple, mostly just to get that practical up. And I think that's good. Let's put this on prioritize production. I'm not going to micromanage these sliders, because it's not fun. It requires stopping and starting a lot, and I don't think it's going to be fun to watch. For the time being, I'm going to put all of my leadership into espionage, because we're going to focus on building a spy network. But I am going to queue up. We can queue up about 30 or 31 techs or so to start, starting with industry. We need education. We start with a lot of leadership, so a 5% boost is pretty substantial. We need industrial production and efficiency. I'm gonna do rocket tests just for kicks. It'd be fun to get some advanced technologies maybe later in the war. Supply production is great. Supply production, it makes us produce the supplies for our military more efficiently, and that means that we have more factories able to produce more planes and ships and all that, rather than just producing supplies for them. So that's great. I'm going to go through these in reverse order. So let's go to fighters and just kind of get these up to date as soon as possible. Now, capital ships. We have a choice to make here. Capital ships take 2 or 3 years to build, and they're very expensive. So we got to start building them as early as possible, and we kind of want to make a choice here. Now, historically, Britain built both battleships and aircraft carriers, and they had some very good battleships and some very good carriers. But, you know, I'm going to use the kind of 20/20 hindsight here, and I'm going to focus on carriers because they are the future. And battleships are very expensive, and I just don't think it's worth it. All right, we're not gonna build subs. We might build subs later just for kicks, but not for now. I just don't think it's worth it. We are, however, going to build both kinds of escorts, light cruisers and destroyers, because destroyers are really great at hunting subs, so that'll be great for the Battle of the Atlantic, and light cruisers are just a good overall long-range escort for our, you know, Far East fleet and stuff. We are behind on armor, so it's very important, I think, to get this rolling early and get these up to date. I like armored cars, so I'm going to build them. I'm going to build tank destroyers eventually, and I'm also going to build artillery. Artillery is probably the most important support unit, so let's get all that rolling nice and early. We're at 29. We don't really have any more space to research stuff, but I'm just going to fill it out a bit. Let's go with, I don't know if I'm going to use mountain infantry, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Mountain warfare equipment is really useful. And we're going to want engineers. And I'm going to put militia support in too, because we are going to build garrison units. We're going to garrison our overseas ports. Garrisons are not very strong. Like, we have a couple already. Like this, where is it? There. This garrison in Hong Kong. We got one in Singapore. I believe we have one as well in Malta and in Gibraltar. I'm going to garrison some more ports because garrisons are not very strong units, but they have pretty good defensive bonuses, and they're very, very cheap to build. They don't use a lot of officers and leadership. And what they're going to do is they're going to kind of give us an advance warning. So if we put a garrison in Rangoon and the Japanese try and land there, it's going to give us some time to dispatch some more specialized troops to kind of intercept those amphibious landings. So yeah, garrisons are going to be useful. I think that's good for tech. We've maxed out espionage for now. Let's just take a quick look at politics. This guy is good. There's a few other options here. We could go for a resource industrialist to build up our resources, but I think this is more valuable. We're reducing our consumer goods demand, which is going to free up more industrial capacity for actually building up our army. I am going to replace this guy. Counter-espionage is good, but leadership is better. Like I said, we got a lot of leadership. 5% makes a big difference. Chief of Staff, doesn't matter. And Chief of the Army, supply consumption. So again, we consume less supplies, we don't need to produce as many, and it frees up industrial capacity. So let's go with him. I'm going to put this naval aviation doctrine guy in here just for kicks. Honestly, this doesn't make a big difference. We're going to be building so much of every type of plane that these practical decays are not going to make they're not going to make or break our game, but I kind of like the idea of having this naval aviation doctrine, so let's just go with it. A little bit of flavor. All right, so that's all our techs. Intelligence is next. I am going to max out our spies, our domestic spies. We're going to do some counter-espionage. That's killing enemy spies. And I'm going to raise national unity. We don't really need to support our ruling party because we have the Conservatives in power and they have a pretty solid majority. And we're a faction leader. We don't. It's just not a big concern for us. We get some events later that are going to help us keep that party in power. So I'm just going to keep that as it is. It looks like we're all set. I'll hold off on spying on the enemy for now, but we will be very shortly. And I think we're ready to go. Oh, you know what? Let's just move these units to where I want them. First off, we're going to look at the home army here. We have 5 regular divisions on British soil, and I'm going to put those in the queue to upgrade to motorized. All of them are regular infantry, but I want to upgrade them to motorized because we want to have a small motorized force at least. All these reserve. You can tell they're reserves because they have those. You can tell they're reserves because they have the lower strength. These ones have 0 strength now because they're in the upgrade queue. But we have 12 of these. Yeah, 12. And I'm gonna move those down to Aldershot. And then let's go over here. These guys need to go there, just because I'm going to be sending transports to pick them up, so they need to be at a port. In Africa, we have some kind of janky militia units, but let's just send them to the nearest ports. Same with these guys. And then the Army of India. I'm going to do the same thing. Everyone goes to the closest port. And I'm using the strategic redeploy so they move quickly, because a lot of this terrain is, if I look at the infrastructure, it's not very well built up. So if I move them normally, they're going to take forever to get there. And we're good. I think everything else is good. Let's just move this guy over here so we don't have to make 2 stops. And that's good. So everything's ready to go. We are going to unpause on speed 4. Great. All of our trades are accepted. And I'm going to pause again when we get to January 2nd to do some more trading. There's a reason for this. Okay, so as soon as we hit January 2nd, you see our resources going to the red. That's because a lot of our resources are coming from overseas, so it takes a day for these convoys that are convoying resources. It takes a day for them to update. So, and that's the same is true of all the other countries. So the only resource we have an abundance of is rares. So I'm going to focus. First, I'm going to look at the richest countries, and I'm going to see who can afford to buy from us. So nationalist China is a good bet. No, that's too much. I'm going to just sell as much as they're likely to buy. Try not to sell more than they can afford, because if we do that, then they're going to cancel the trade as soon as they go broke. But like Sweden's got lots of money. Sweden's good. Japan we already traded with. Republican Spain, sure, why not? The Spanish Civil War is going to start soon, so it doesn't really matter. But we might as well milk them for some money early on. I'm probably actually going to go over the number of rares I have here, but that's fine. Even if we go into the negative, we have so many rares, we're going to have a hard time not kind of maxing them out. Czechoslovakia, whatever, sure. Again, just sort of grab some money from them early on. Australia. This is also spreading our diplomatic influence. Every time we trade with a country, they become more likely to join our faction in the long run. So that's good. Romania, kind of hope that they accept, to be honest. Gonna run out of diplo points soon. It's going down. We got 9 left. Every trade uses 3. Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Austria. Let's go with Portugal. Austria is not long for this world. They are going to get gobbled up by Germany very soon. I think that's it. Yep, we're out. Okay, so we've done our trades. I'm going to put this on speed 5 for a second, and we have enough active spies. Okay, let's see who accepted. Portugal declines. Navies are arriving. There we go. Nationalist China, that's good. Yugoslavia, Sweden, Poland declined. Australia, Romania declined, that's a shame. Spain, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia. All right. We're going to build up some more spies. As soon as we hit 10, we'll do some more spying. All right, we're up to 14. That's perfect. Navies are starting to arrive at their destinations. Nope, I'm not going to be buying any of that for now. Let's set up our spy network in Germany. So I'm going to go with all-out increased threat. They're gonna be killing a lot of our spies because we're not doing any counter-espionage. But increasing threat is it's going to make Germany look scary, both to the British public and to other countries. It's kind of a propaganda campaign, and the goal is to kind of mobilize our population to convince them that they need to join the army and they need to work in factories that produce munitions and all that. So we are going to try and do a propaganda campaign to make Germany look scary and to convince our population that war is coming and they need to get ready. So that's good for intelligence. I'm going to just let a couple more days pass and wait. Oh. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. So we've kind of built up a little excess of spies. Now I'm going to switch to, actually, we're going to get some Diplo points again because we're going to need them. So I'm going to lock this at 1, and I'm going to keep an eye on this number. If it starts going down, that means that our spies are being killed off. We might need to bump that up to 2. So let's build up some diplomats. That's enough. No thanks. Yeah, you see we're in the negative for rares, but that's okay. Some of these countries are probably going to cancel because they probably can't afford it anyway. Oh, we've got money. So I'm going to pass the first law which we can pass, which is specialist training. We're just trading. Here it's going to take us longer to recruit our units and they're going to cost more, but this starting experience is worth it. It's almost always worth it. We want them to be kind of crack units. So let's do that. And let's take a look here. We've built up our Diplo points. So our next task is going to be to start doing some small trades with the USA. And we're trying to get these relations up to the maximum of 200 as kind of sooner rather than later. So we'll get that trade going. And I think that's it. I think that's it for this episode. The next step will be, we're going to put all this in research, just slowly building up our diplomatic relationship with the United States. We're also going to look at maybe influencing some of these countries to kind of draw them closer. You got this diplomatic triangle here, so we want to be taking some of these countries and kind of drawing them closer to the Allies. We may not want to actually get them to join the Allies, but we might want to kind of discourage them from joining the Axis, so that we're not fighting, all of Central Europe, for example. So those are things we'll think about next episode. I hope you enjoyed this video. The next videos will certainly have a bit more action, especially as we get into the war. But I wanted to kind of show you my process and show off some of the features of the game very quickly. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also check out my other playlists. I've got a few going right now. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Ciao.